to Citizenship Test Prep. This series is featuring the new 128 questions that you would use if you registered after October of 2025. And this particular section is going to do questions 75 through 100. So the way it works is I ask the question, you'll see the question, I'll wait a moment, I'll pause, and then I'll reply, I show the answer, and if there's any discussion or clarification, I'll try to do that as well. So let's get started. 75. What group of people was taken and sold as slaves? That answer is Africans or people from Africa. So just so you're aware, you need one answer unless it specifically asks for more than one answer in the question. So the reason there's two choices here is because there's two choices that are correct. There's probably more, but these are the two that are listed on the study guide. What war did the Americans fight to win independence from Britain? The American Revolution is probably the easiest one. It could be any of those three that you're seeing on the screen, but American Revolution is probably the one that my students know the best. One reason why the Americans declared independence from Britain. There are a lot to choose from. High taxes seems to be the easiest one for them to remember, but you could use any of these, and I can go into a deep dive on them on a different video, but high taxes, let's just go with that for this one and try to remember it. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? If you're new to this, you'll notice there's an asterisk at the end of the question. That means that this question is specifically required. If you are over the age of 65, you only have to study 20 questions, and this is one of those 20. So let's move on to the answer. And the answer is Thomas Jefferson. When was the Declaration of Independence adopted? July 4, 1776. Also a federal holiday, Independence Day, so it's kind of a double answer. American Revolution had many important events. Name one, and this is another choice. You can do any of these that you want. Bunker Hill. I think the Declaration of Independence is probably the easiest because you have to know it for other things, but you could pick any of those and you only need one. 13 original states, name 5. These are the ones you can choose. Now, my students and I, we've kind of come up with a way to remember. We do the news and the directions. So we do New Hampshire, New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, South Carolina. That's the 5. So if you remember new and direction, that would get you to the 5. But it can be any of those 5, so whatever works the best for you. What founding document was written in 1787? That was the Constitution. Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers. You need one of these. So you've got Madison, Hamilton, Jay, and Publius. Most of my students say Hamilton just because they're aware of him. Some of them know James Madison too. Those are the two we usually choose. You only need one. Why were the Federalist Papers important? This is just to have to learn it. They help people understand the Constitution. People weren't sure what was in it, so it was written to make it a little easier to understand. Benjamin Franklin is famous for many things. Name one, and you can pick. There's a whole bunch. I think inventor is the easiest because it's one word, but he did found the first free public libraries, first postmaster general, helped with the Declaration, and was a U.S. diplomat. George Washington, famous for many things. Name one. Probably the easiest one is first president. Also known as the father of our country. He was a general of the Continental Army, president of the Constitutional Convention. Thomas Jefferson, famous for many things. Name one. Well, he wrote the Declaration, so if you remember that from the previous question, that could be a possibility. Third president is a pretty easy one too. I'd pick one of those two, but you can use any of those others that you're seeing on the screen. James Madison, famous for many things. Name one. Also a president, considered to be father of the Constitution. He was like the main writer of the Constitution, but president is a pretty easy one. In fact, of all the names that you're going to hear, the only one that really wasn't a president would have been Benjamin Franklin. Almost all the rest of them, president will work. Except for this guy, Alexander Hamilton, famous for many things. Name one. He was one of the writers of the Federalist Papers. This is one, there's not a really easy one. You just have to pick one of them to learn. First Secretary of the Treasury. Federalist Papers is a previous question that might help. He also did some with the First Bank, General Washington, Continental Congress. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? That would be the Louisiana Territory or Louisiana. Either one's okay. One war fought by the U.S. in the 1800s, so you've got some to choose from. You can start with the War of 1812. I try to encourage my students to remember that one because it has 18 in the name. You could also pick Mexican-American, Civil War, or Spanish-American. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. That would be the Civil War. Civil War had many important events. Name one, and you can choose here. A lot of my students pick Lincoln was assassinated because they know about it and it's easy for them to remember. So you can pick any of those others, but that's the one that my students usually choose. Abraham Lincoln, famous for many things. Name one. He's another one of those that is a president. So you could say freed the slaves, saved the Union, but also president of the United States. And that would be fine. What did the Emancipation Proclamation do? It freed the slaves. Actually, freed the slaves in the Confederacy, but freed the slaves is usually acceptable for an answer for that question. What U.S. war ended slavery? You're noticing a theme here. This would be the Civil War, so we've been on that for the past 3 or 4 questions. What amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are U.S. citizens? And this is what you're trying to do, and that is the 14th Amendment. So it's the one that people born here are automatically citizens, and then you can also take the test and do what you need to do to become naturalized. 98, when did all men get the right to vote? That was after the Civil War, and it was the 15th Amendment. One of the leaders of the women's rights movement in the 1800s, there's a number to choose from. Susan B. Anthony is pretty well known, so a lot of my students pick her, but you can pick any one of those from that list that you would like. You just need one. And our last one today, one for war fought by the United States in the 1900s, and there's some to choose from. You can do World War I, World War II, Korean, Vietnam, or Persian Gulf. So all of those would be acceptable answers. Okay, that takes us through question 100. There's 28 more, maybe one more session. I hope you're having good luck. Keep practicing and do well on that test. I know you can do it.